Hey, Love Your Life fam. It's Crystal and Andre Holland.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, looking forward to hearing from you. So to find us, you can check us out on
Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Stitcher. We look forward to hearing from you all.
Yeah, we came a long way, and that's what the song say. And I can do all things. I can do all things. Yeah, I can do all things. Yeah.
Hey, Love Your Life family. Welcome back to another Loving Your Life podcast. It's just this Crystal.
What's going on, fam? It's your boy, Andre.
And we are back at you with another discussion about loving your life. How you doing today, honey?
I'm doing all right. It's been a wild 5 days. But doing all right. Just, taking it one day at a time. Focusing on what's to come next, as far as the coming weeks, summer, and so forth. But doing all right. Spending time with family, so that's a good thing. But definitely just grieved in my soul. Just the reality of some of the things that's transpired the last 5 days. That's for sure.
I hear you. Today's it's been a productive day. Like you said, getting established and ready for the summer. Appointments, so on and so forth. It's been a productive day, but I concur with you. Definitely just tired of the same old stuff hitting our people.
Yeah. So, hey, listen. We shared a while back just about the importance of doing your due diligence, being a part of the solution versus a problem, and here we are, May 28th, the last 5 days. We're dealing with just flat out blatant racism and hate. Last 5 days, there's been 4 incidents in 4 different states where black people were either brutalized or used as a scapegoat. And in the case of George Floyd, may his soul rest in peace, murdered. Latest, George Floyd murdered by police officers in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And again, this is one of the things that is hard to find the words. I mean, literally, you have to fight like heck to not hate. When you see this man face down over 5 minutes saying he can't breathe, my neck, I can't breathe, and the police officer's knee is in the back of his neck, and he's laying on the ground saying he can't breathe.
Fully detained. Handcuffed.
5 minutes, gasping for air, saying he can't breathe. Police officer kept his knee on his neck, they said, over 8 minutes. While not only did this police officer do that, other police officers were standing by allowing it to go on. And then we have bystanders, children, women, having to see it all. And the issue is, if they had to intervene, they would have been saying, well, you're interrupting law officers trying to do their job. And here we have it, another issue of just absolute insane racism, hate, murder. George Floyd, Minneapolis, Minnesota.
And so today we're going to talk about you cannot conceal hate.
Cannot conceal hate, So again, it's one of these things. We're back at the table, and honestly, you go through these emotions, anger, hate, numbness, and for me personally, I feel like I need time, a couple of days, even just before I can even talk about it. That's for me, when I look at my sons, my family, my loved ones, and just seeing the lack of value for human life, it's troublesome. So George Floyd, may soul rest in peace. Obviously praying for his family, but frustrated and tired of the same old things happening. So, but 4 incidents in the last 5 days. May 25th, youth pastor in Georgia, stepping out cheating. But the fact that he claimed he was kidnapped by a black man, that was his excuse of why he was in a hotel. Instead of coming out telling the truth, he found it easier to blame a black man for his indiscretions as the reason why he was at a hotel, instead of coming out telling the truth. So that tells you, basically, let's pin it on the black man. It'll be easier to believe if I say this. May 23rd, Miami, Florida. Mother killed or drowned her autistic son, nonverbal son. Now get this. First incident, she tried to kill him, pushed him in the canal, ran away. He was rescued. Took him to another canal, pushed him in again. No one was there to rescue him. The boy died. I don't know his name. May his soul rest in peace. But this particular issue, this mother, she stated 2 black men abducted her son and robbed her and abducted her son. Scapegoat. And then I'm sure a lot of you may have seen this, May 26th in New York, this park they call the Bramble, where people go bird watching. And just the audacity, this brother's filming this woman, telling her, hey, put your dog on a leash. And she refuses, get belligerent. And then she has the nerve to say, if you don't leave and put your phone away, I'm going to tell the cops that you're threatening me. Now here she is being recorded, and she begins to scream and yell, talking about her safety's at risk. This black man with a helmet on is threatening me. I mean, just insanity. And listen, it's to the point where, again, I love people, but have to truly, when you see stuff like this over and over again, it definitely, it just frustrates you, causes you to get angry, causes you to contemplate and think about, are you doing enough to be a role model example for your sons and your people in your community, people you network with. It's just, here we go again. Some of the same old stuff, and it's time out for just talking about it. Like I said before, we need more people that are fighting the good fight in their own way, whether that's through legislation, through, more black people in police forces, more people, running for offices to get laws and legislation changed, but then even a coming together of, and again, listen, this issue, obviously it's so raw. It's like a Band-Aid being pulled off a scab, but these issues are directly, related to what's happening in the black community. And so we can't be ashamed to talk about it. Listen, I can love you, respect you, hear your heart, hang out with people and love people from all different backgrounds, cultures, races, ethnicities. Don't have any problem with that. Love all people. But at the end of the day, if you clam up or you get tense, because if I'm as a black man, I talk about issues that are affecting the black community, and if that's not safe to talk around you, then I question, are you really a friend of mine? Because the bottom line is, I can't refrain from talking about things that are affecting the black community to make you feel safer or to make you feel comfortable.
Well, I think it goes back to the very topic where people try to conceal it, and I like to look at the definition of words. If you look at the definition of conceal, it means to cover up, to disguise, a mask, to suppress it or bury it, and there's people that are showing up on your job and, or your neighbors that smile or do enough just to be nice, but don't want to engage in anything deep. Why? Because it truly uproots, it exposes what we try to bury, and that can go across many things. Obviously today we're really dealing with this hate, this deep-seated hate. And
you can't conceal hate.
No.
And here's the reality. The frustrating thing is, you have to be truly out of your mind if you can sit there and just blatantly knee in the back of someone's neck as they're gasping for air, saying they can't breathe, and it doesn't move you to value human life, to say, I need to shift, I need to do something different. And again, your buddies on the force who was standing there watching you, no one thought like, man, hey, I need you to, get off him. He's that's enough. You talk about rational detachment or the lack of rational detachment.
It's a seared conscience.
And this is the frustration that just the reality. Okay, this is the frustration that a lot of black people have. It's like when if I'm yelling and angry and loud, it's a problem. When I take a knee like Colin Kaepernick, it's a problem. Okay, so what am I supposed to do to address injustices? Can't talk about it. Can't yell. Can't take a knee. So what am I supposed to do? Just sit and let it go on? And that's the frustrating thing. And at the end of the day, listen, you can only push people so far. And again, I'm a firm believer in love. That's never going to change. But I'm tired, man. It's just frustrating. And it's heartbreaking because as a black father raising black kids, I have to talk about this daily and teach them to love, teach them to get along with all people, teach them to value themselves, but teach them the reality of deep-seated hate that's a part of living in America. And I can't speak how it is in other countries because I've only lived in America. And that doesn't mean I don't love my country. Doesn't mean I don't love being an American citizen. Okay, yeah, I love America. I love being an American citizen. I thank God for the many privileges that we do have. But that doesn't mean I'm going to turn a blind eye to just straight out injustices. And this issue right here, and then if you look at it, even in the midst of COVID-19 and this pandemic, there's a lot of time and a lot less distractions. Mm-hmm. There's no sports to take your mind off of it. This thing is staring us smack dab in the face, this pink elephant in the room. And we have to address this because this is not okay. As Crystal stated, you can't conceal hate. And listen, let me tell you something. Whatever's in you is going to come to the surface when those emotions are rattled.
That's it.
Now, it's one thing if you're protecting yourself from harm or danger, fight or flight, you're protecting yourself. But when you get angry and deep-seated anger, it's your emotions get rattled. Whatever's in you is going to come to the forefront. And I want to stress these issues. I just gave you 4. And just imagine, these are just 4 things that were actually recorded. But you sit and wonder, well, how many more have gone on? Not only in the year 2020, but even previous years. And so, it's. Well,
you didn't get a chance to mention, I can't remember what city it is, but a young man, 21 years old, yesterday, cops were called out. I don't know what they were called out for. And this brother's on the ground, hand stretched out, a good probably 8 to 10 black people around, and his 90-year-old grandmother. This young man is hollering and crying and telling the cops he's scared. And they're telling him to get up. And he wouldn't get up because he was scared. And they had, all of them had their guns drawn. This dude had no weapon on him. Every cop had their gun drawn. To the point that his 90-year-old grandmother went over to try to comfort him. The cops walked towards him as his 90-year-old grandmother is standing right next to her. And they took this woman to the ground.
It's, like I said, man, it's obviously issues we have to talk about, but we have to not just talk about, but truly get behind it and address these issues. But it makes you numb and angry to the point where you just get tired. And it's like, man.
You mentioned legislation and Congress and getting the right people in there. I think that's part of it, but I truly believe that the solution, like you mentioned, it's in our communities. It's going to be getting to know your neighbors, asking questions, like dispelling the lie and stop being a puppet to fear. There's so many stereotypes about people of color, and people haven't even allowed themselves to have a true connection with black people to dispel the lies. And again, that's not an absolute. That doesn't apply to everybody out there that's not black, and vice versa. But being able to dismantle the lie.
Yeah.
You know, versus literally you just being a puppet to fear. You've watched movies. We know the media is tilted. We know statistics, aren't accurate when it comes to a lot of things. But it's nothing new. The only difference now is there's so many media outlets and cameras where it's just now being seen how frequent it's happening, how often it's happening. And people have nothing but a lot of time on their hands now, and people are tired, and they're getting fed up. And obviously, as a believer, we can't lose sight and remember that we do not wrestle against flesh and blood. We have to keep that at the forefront so that we don't get out of pocket and start operating with the spirit of hate. But truly understanding that this is a spiritual battle. This is a spiritual war that's operating through people who bend to the foolishness.
But I want to stress too, as you mentioned, spiritual battle. Obviously, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but there is work for us to do here in the natural.
Yes.
In the physical world, the world we live in, there's things for us to do. And again, I want to stress it starts with each and every one of us, regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of your racial, your race, your background, your socioeconomics. We all have a part to play. And my message, man, in the midst of truly grieving, I'm just going to be honest. When you love people, regardless if you're related to them, regardless if you know them or not, and truly regardless when you love people, regardless if they look like you or not, but when you love people, it grieves you when you see systematic injustices. And so it's going to take all of us in all spheres of life, all walks of life, to truly look ourselves in the mirror, have tough conversations, not comfortable conversations, but tough conversations so that we can move forward. I'm a firm believer in looking at the cup half full versus half empty. I do believe that the fact that we're alive today gives us an opportunity to meet and address and solve the challenges of today. But it's going to take some work. And like I said before, anything worth anything is not going to be easy. But we just have a lot to do. And, we owe it to ourselves, humanity, but we owe it to ourselves to truly do better, man. Just because, again, like I said, my heart is heavy. My heart is heavy. And at the end of the day, tomorrow comes, you got to get up and go and do what you need to do. You know what I'm saying? And so the reality of it is this. Listen, if you've ever made comments or why they always complaining or why they always talking about, if that's you, why somebody always talking about black issues or whatever, or they always complaining, I want you to understand this is so deep, and it would be easy to turn a blind eye and bury your head in the sand, but that's the reality. They're just straight injustices that are oppressive, and one of the biggest frustrations is, okay, well, how do I deal with it? How do I talk about it? How can I address it? That's the frustration. Imagine feeling or being trapped, and you feel like no matter what you do, not only you're trapped, but every time you try to get out of the trap, you're being condemned for trying to get out. And so these are some real issues, man.
And it's going to happen one person at a time. And we're truly processing out loud with you all.
I mean, that's the reality. I'm like feeling like I'm kind of stuck. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because, there's a lot that's coming to my mind. And obviously we're human. We're allowed to change our mind. We're allowed to be in error. But I said this out loud. I'm going to say it to you guys. When I started seeing all of this, one of the things I wrote down is that this is the residue of the Jim Crow laws and nothing but modern day lynching in positions of power.
Yeah.
That we continue to see, and historically, black men, black women have been hung publicly to make a statement. They have been killed publicly to make a statement. And regardless of if you believe that or not, you don't have to believe it for it to, be true. It's an ongoing issue that is affecting our community, that is affecting the conversations that we have with our children. There's only so many conversations you can have. because of the incidents that occurred. When you have people that can't even go to sleep at night and avoid being murdered in their own homes.
Yeah, and then, it's just frustrating. I can say one of the things that obviously brings some glimmers of hope and light is when you see people of all ethnicities protesting and coming together and speaking up and saying this is wrong, this is an atrocity. And we need more of that. I want to stress, more people, regardless of your cultural background, your ethnicity, not being afraid to speak up of injustices against not only black people, but Hispanics, Asians, any group of people. All of us being able to speak up against injustices, regardless of, the race of a person, because the bottom line is we're all humans. And so I can say, just seeing and a lot of some of the things that are going on, people coming together, different cultures, different backgrounds to address these atrocities, that does give you a glimmer of hope. It's just that for sure, all of us, including me, just, continually be looking for more opportunities to be a solver to problems. And that's kind of where my mind is. What more can I do? Again, I stress for me, reason why I went into education is to help shape the minds of young people, teach them to be a critical thinker, think for themselves, teaching them, in addition to teaching math and English and, and so forth, teaching them their value, their worth, teaching them the importance of work ethic and paying attention and focusing. And now as an administrator, that's the same mission, being able to influence young people to make a better tomorrow. And so I want to stress again, wherever you are, whatever your sphere of influence, your metron, your focus, whatever you're working on, please carve time out, space, time, talent, energy, money, finances. Carve something out to pour into organizations and or our young people that can help make tomorrow a better tomorrow. Because at the end of the day, the answer is in our hands. The issue is what we're going to do with it. Are we going to hold on to what's in our hands, or are we going to allow what's in our hands, to flow from one to another so that we can all rise?
Just all of the noise, the protesting, and
which is, again,
it's part of it. But here's the thing that I have with people been protesting for centuries, and I'm not saying not to protest. I'm not saying not to pray. Those things are going to continue to happen. What I'm saying is, for those of you that don't look like black people, use your influence and get out there and be a voice for those that have been crying out and it has been overlooked and overheard, swept under the rug, or there they go again. All of the comments to, again, make it seem like our lives don't matter. And truly putting your hand to the shovel and doing something about it. Putting your resources into organizations that are on the front lines doing something about it. So it goes back to what is in your hand versus looking for somebody else to do it, or it's not your issue. That's not my community. Right. But this is your America. You're profiting off of the same things that we are. We're all putting our dollars into the same economy, trying to live and raise our families. And so when you see outright blatant hate and evil, and God has put us in the earth to be an ambassador of love, how are you extending love to these areas to bring solution? Being solution oriented versus another roundtable conversation, getting up with no hand to the shovel.
And I want to stress again, this is a people issue.
Yes.
I can respect different faiths, whatever people believe. I'm not, I'm like I said, I'm a lover of people, but this is a people issue, and we can't put this on God. This is a people issue.
Right.
And I want to stress, because it's a people issue, we have to come together to make the changes. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be comfortable. But at the end of the day, this is a people issue. And it starts with how you, in your home, how you raise your children. Do you raise them to love? Do you teach them to hate? Do you raise them to hate people that don't look like them or be, so again, this all stems from the home. Before a child goes to school, their first teacher is their parents or their guardians, or whoever is raising them. And so, again, this is a people issue, a people problem. We can't blame anyone else but ourselves, meaning, as people, as a society, we're responsible. I want to stress again, love and not hate. And there's times where you have to fight like crazy to not hate. Okay. But at the end of the day, we just have more work to do, man. More work to do. Again, just more work to do. George Floyd, man. Rest in peace. I mean,
and I want to acknowledge our brothers and sisters out there that I'd say have a different hue, don't look like us, that have been intentional about sending texts, checking on us, calling, and not being quiet about it. I want to thank you for being a voice, speaking up, using your social media platform to speak out against it. That's the beauty, man. Not only people that we know, our white brothers and sisters, Hispanic, Asian Americans, but not only people we know who are vocal and speaking up, but even those that we don't know. That is the beauty of what can come out of a problem when people come together, yes, to address and bring about a solution. And so, as you stated, for sure, definitely want to big shout out, thank you to all those people across this city, state, nation, regardless of their ethnicity, that have been a mouthpiece, and putting their hands to the plow and addressing injustices. Thank you for your labor. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your support. And again, I want to stress, as we're talking about, you can't conceal hate. Listen, it is okay to talk about issues that are hurting you and affecting you. Okay? It is okay to talk about issues that are hurting you and affecting you. And if that makes some people feel uncomfortable because you're talking about injustices, in this case, we're talking about injustices against African Americans. If that makes you feel uncomfortable, then that's your problem. It is okay to say you're hurting me, right, and not feel guilty for talking about issues that concern you. Absolutely. Before we close out, I do want to give a scripture, and I encourage you to spend some time really reflecting. It's 1 John chapter 4, verse 20 through 21. I'm reading the Message version. It says, "If anyone boasts, I love God, and goes right on hating his brother or sister, thinking nothing of it, he is a liar. If he won't love the person he can see, how can he love the God he can't see? The command we have from Christ is blunt. Loving God includes loving people. You've got to love both."
And I want to stress, hey, listen, don't talk to me about God when you're living a life full of hate. Okay? And so, listen, hey, you know where we stand. Obviously, believers love people, love God. But for sure, we're going to speak up, not only with our voice, but even our actions, how we live our life, the things that we do behind the scenes to support righteousness.
Absolutely.
And so I want to encourage you, again, wherever you are, pick up the baton. Let's get going. There's work for us to do. There is work for us to do.
This is part of loving your life.
Yep, definitely. So one last shout out, George Floyd. So rest in peace. Definitely praying for the fam. We're going to look for different organizations as well that we can maybe just share with people who may want to help, donate to the family, donate to specific causes that address, oppressive systems. But for sure, hey, God bless you all. It's been real. And remember, let's love, not hate. God bless. Y'all take care.
Love you all. And also be sure to check us out on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and YouTube.
Peace.
Shout to the city that raised me. Shout to the people that made me. I'm from the 80s. I don't think mumbling wavy. I grew up black on a Jay-Z. Maybe I'm crazy. I ain't been wondering lately. Feel like it's there for the taking. Feel like I'm good with the changes. Know who I am. And that's the most dangerous state.
Hey, Love Your Life fam. It's Crystal and Andre Holland.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, looking forward to hearing from you. So to find us, you can check us out on
Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Stitcher. We look forward to hearing from you all.